Verify cameras are on. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
This is gonna be good. Hey BJ Clean Team, it's Ryan. Welcome to my channel. This channel is all things aviation. I use my experience as a former F-15E combat fighter pilot, F-16 Thunderbird pilot, and current commercial pilot who's flown both Boeing and Airbus aircraft to break down epic aviation videos and stories. And this one is gonna be awesome because we're going to watch a behind the scenes trailer that shows how they prepared the actors for the new Top Gun Maverick, and stay to the very end because I'll give my analysis on how I think it turned out at the very end. And hey, before we get going, if you would just go ahead and dominate that like button for me, or gently press that like button. The choice is yours. It would help me grow this channel a ton. I would greatly appreciate it. With that said, let's dive into some Top Gun.
We are cleared into the area. Verify cameras are on. All right.
At the very beginning there, you can see Maverick give the thumbs up, and you can see that his thumb is exposed. And a lot of aviators will do this. They'll trim the ends off of the fingers of their gloves, because when you do that, you get a more tactile experience and you get more responsiveness from the different buttons and levers in the cockpit. You get more feel from the jet as well, because there's not that barrier in between it. It's like kind of eating a sandwich that's in a plastic bag. No one wants to do that. So instead, you get the actual feel. So let's say you pull the trigger or push the pickle button, or you press a button on your up front display, or you dominate that like button. If you do it without gloves on, what you'll feel is a little bit of responsiveness. And when you're flying super fast, you're pulling G, any little bit of extra information that helps you understand that, yeah, I was able to change that radio frequency, or, I was able to pull that trigger to the exact detent that I wanted. Those little things actually matter. And there's a lot of rules out there that you have to wear gloves as an aviator, and it's relatively a good idea. They're fire protection equipment, but sometimes you just can't do it as a fighter pilot. So a lot of guys will whoosh, put them on, give the boss a little, yeah, hey, gloves are great, love the gloves, and then they'll get up to altitude, take them off. So to each their own, but at the end of the day, I have seen a lot of aviators do that. Cool that they intertwined that.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Here comes some G's. There's 5 G's.
6 G's.
7 G's.
So they're pulling G's and they're making the Arnold Schwarzenegger sounds like, oh, get to the chopper, get down. Oh. So if you've heard my videos before, you know that if you're making noise like that while you're pulling G, you're letting excess air out of your lungs. Ain't nobody got the ability to do that. Ain't nobody got time to let excess air out of their gloves and still keep your vision where you need to keep it. Because what'll start to happen if you start to lose excessive air is your vision will start to gray out, and then it'll turn into tunnel vision, and then eventually it'll be gone. And at the end of the day, that can be very dangerous. So you gotta squeeze. If you start to feel any type of vision like that happening, you have to squeeze again or ease off the G, or, make some Arnold quotes. That seems to help as well. And then I pause it here at the perfect point where there's this F-18. This one happens to be a single seater doing this pass. They're kind of what looks to be up on a hillside. And I love the fact that this F-18 is so low. That is epic. I'm assuming he's somewhere between 50 and 100 feet. His radar altimeter is hitting off the middle of the valley, and they're up a little bit on the side of the hill, so that's helping out. I'm assuming they shot this somewhere out by Navy Fallon in the Sierra Nevadas area. I got to do a couple exercises out of Fallon when I was flying the F-15E Strike Eagle. Super epic to work with the Navy. Made a ton of great friends there. So I think I can tell you guys this. If not, I'll have to edit this out, but hopefully I don't have to, because I was walking along the flight line with a Navy friend of mine, and he was like, hey, come check this out. And we went to this little discreet hangar in the corner of the airfield. He opened it up, and there was 6 clean F-16s sitting inside this hangar. And he was like, yeah, man, this is what we do on the weekends. Obviously, they don't do that on the weekends. That was a joke he made. But what those are Red Air aircraft. So they have their own Red Air there that can fly against the good guys and help them sharpen their skills.
All right. That was awesome.
I wasn't ready to make a sequel until we had a special story worthy of a sequel, and until technology evolved so we could delve deeper into the experience of a fighter pilot.
The first movie became something that changed a generation. So this is exciting to come back and get in those jets again.
I really love how they're hitting on story development, the experience of a fighter pilot, and how this changed a generation. And this is something that I think the Navy does really well, is they embrace character development, because in the real world, and obviously they've done it well in Top Gun, you embrace different types of characters, and that's what makes organizations work. You need characters like Maverick, who are kind of a little bit rebellious, who want to fly jets fast, who want to go to combat, and they're the kind of person you want to work with, and then at the end of the day, you want to hang out with after work. And then there's the characters like Iceman, who become admirals, and they're kind of a little bit more on that cookie cutter path. You need both types of characters, and the Navy has embraced it with Top Gun, and that to me is one of the aspects that's made it a phenomenon. And I think it's something that if the Air Force could improve, Air Force, don't worry, we're not breaking up, we're still together, but if you could improve one thing, Air Force, what I would say to you is embrace character development. Don't worry, you're still on my Christmas list. Because when you embrace character development, you get rich stories that show what actually happens in the real world. Because when I was in actual fighter squadrons, I saw these different types of personalities, and how we mesh and sometimes butt heads is really the juice to the experience of being in a fighter squadron. And if you kind of ignore that and you kind of pretend like, everybody's got to be like Iceman, everybody's got to want to be a general and follow this one path, then you put yourself in a position where you're not really embracing reality. And so I think the Air Force could do a little better job at that. They've tried to do it a little bit with movies like Captain Marvel, which are valiant attempts, I think, but I think they still have a little ways to go. And embracing that character development is what could actually help them make a movie that competes with Top Gun. If you think they could one day make a movie that competes with Top Gun, tell me in the comments below and we'll see.
We worked with the Navy and the Top Gun school to formulate how to shoot it practically. Because if we're going to do it, we're going to fly in the F-18s.
The aviation sequences had to be real. So our actors went through 3 months of grueling training.
The Navy says if you eject, you have to be able to survive in the water. So we had to go through that challenging underwater program.
It's intense. You're flipped inverted and you're having to try and get out.
From there, Tom designed.
So that last big contraption there, that's obviously not what it would be like if you ejected and landed in the ocean. What that thing is for is specifically for helicopter or larger aircraft type training. So if they're getting flown out to some of these boats, some of these carriers, they're going to need that training in case those aircraft go down. And like, let's say they're in a helicopter and it flips upside down in the water, that will help them get out, like getting the windows open, unstrapping and things like that. Because if you eject in a fighter jet out over the ocean, it's a whole different world. And I actually got to do water survival training. I got to be on this big platform boat that the Air Force owns, and you attach yourself to speedboats. You have a parachute behind you. You start running as fast as you can. Key here, guys. Do not stop running. You don't want to get drugged across the deck of that thing. So you start running, the speedboat takes off and it whips you up to altitude. You go to about 500 feet and you're up there. And I remember being up there, for a second I was like, no big deal. Land in the water, it's all good. And then all of a sudden I started to notice there were big dark spots in the water. And, I'm just kind of like, no big deal. Trying to keep it cool. Got this. And inside I'm like, shark, 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 shark. And then you disconnect from the speedboat. So you pull these red handles. The key, you do not disconnect from your parachute. That's going to be a long fall down. I've heard that was tested before. Please don't do that if you're in this position, guys. You pull the little red handles and it disconnects you from the boat. You land in the water, and then most likely your parachute's going to come down on top of you. And then you got to find a seam in that parachute, and that'll lead you to the end. And usually they made us do this with one arm just in case, to simulate that you had some sort of injury after an ejection. And then you pull yourself up into this one-man raft, which you think is going to make you feel all warm and cozy. And then you realize that there's like that much material between you and the deep blue sea and those big dark objects that you saw like 30 seconds ago. What could go wrong?
Designed this all-encompassing aviation training for all the actors.
I started them out in a single-engine airplane to build up their spatial awareness inside the aircraft.
Oh, wow. That's amazing! Oh, my God!
Next, we took them to the L-39, and they went and flew aerobatics to feel what it's like in a jet.
Get some speed.
Wow. From there, they'd graduate to the F-18 Super Hornet and actually launching off an aircraft carrier.
So I love that they gave the gift to these actors of that experience prior to jumping into an F-18. And when I went through my initial flight training, that was huge. So for the Navy, what they do is they start in the T-34, which is their initial trainer. After that, after they've gained some skills there, then they jump to the T-45, which is like their mini fighter jet, where they start to learn fighter jet stuff. And that's huge because that progression helps you build confidence as you move up and then eventually into the F-18. For the Air Force, what we do is we start in the T-6. Then after the T-6, we go to the T-38. And I'm going to do a video soon on the replacement for the T-38. It's the T-7A Red Hawk. And this thing looks really awesome. I'm going to talk about some of the competitors to that thing and why the T-7A actually won the contract. I'll do a full breakdown and a follow-on video, guys, so make sure you subscribe to see that one. What I noticed though on my first couple flights in fighter aircraft before going to the F-16 or the F-15E is that everything kind of seems like it's happening at once. So you're trying to maintain airspeed, maintain altitude, and then you hear all this communication and comm on the radio. And you're like, bro, I'm trying to fly a jet here. Why are you talking to me? I'm trying to focus. But then eventually you realize that you can do all those things at once if you have enough reps, if you have enough swings of the bat. What happens is those words start to make more sense. The ground seems to go a little bit slower underneath you. And then eventually when you get a radar, your radar scope, the little context on it start to seem like they're moving a little slower. And all that is confidence and experience. So they're giving that to these actors, which is going to be huge when they're trying to show emotion and position the aircraft for the different shots that they're going to get.
The actors also had to learn how to run the cameras because when they're up in the jet, they have to direct themselves essentially.
Okay, I'm rolling.
I had to really teach them cinematography and the lighting so that they understand.
Aviation cinematography is awesome. And I think it's super cool that they're bringing the actors into this. I mean, they really didn't have a choice. They're the ones who are up there in that back seat and they're the only ones who control. So I was able to do this on the Thunderbirds. I was the photo officer my last year on the team and I set up our different photo shoots. And the way I would do it is thinking about the different sun angles. So you want the sun to be shining on the top of those jets. And then I would pick out certain geographical features that would contrast with the color of the jets. So the sun would be hitting them at the right angle. If it was behind them, then it would wash out the aircraft and you wouldn't get to see the nice crisp lines. And the same goes for the contrasting geography behind the jets. So if you flew the top of that white jet over a white background, it's not going to look great. But if you have some sort of like red background or it's some sort of background that just contrasts with that white, you're going to get that jet to pop. And that's going to make for a much better picture. So that's definitely what I'm assuming a part of their training was. And it's huge when it comes to aviation photography to think of sun position and what's going to contrast with the jet and the background that the jet's flying over.
What's gonna look good on camera.
Sun angle's great.
Everybody thought it would be impossible for actors to really be in the jets.
But that's the gift that Tom gave us, that by the time we got up there, we could handle it.
Definitely the most amazing thing I've ever done. All the training, 100% prepared us.
I'm very proud of what we all accomplished. Each one of them are extraordinary.
It still blows my mind that we've done this. There's nothing like it.
This is going to be an awesome movie, and I think it's really cool that they gave us this behind-the-scenes peek. I hope some of my commentary helped you get a little more understanding of what's going on to get these actors up in these F-18s. This is going to be awesome, so definitely go see it when it releases. Go ahead and send me other videos, stories, photos on my @BJetClean Instagram, and there's a chance that I'll break them down right here on this channel. You can also jump over to my other YouTube channel. It's just @RyanBodenheimer, and I post there pretty much every day. I'm not posting here. So glad you guys were here. Before you go, maybe just dominate that like button or gently press that like button or grab that like button and give it a big bear hug. Whatever it is that gets you going, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for being here, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Most of all, have a great day.